Welcome back to Zaka Stokvel Insights. Before the break, we profiled Siyathuthuka Stokvel, a group that evolved from casual monthly contributions into a forward-thinking investment stokvel. They often say you shouldn't mix friendships, fun, and money, but how can stokvels like Siyathuthuka structure their finances, protect their members, their families, and prepare for major acquisitions to combat this? Our resident expert, Thabiso Masurubele, joins me now to break all of this down. Thabiso, a nice concoction there, a nice mixture, but can you just share with us if, their current monthly contribution compared to their old one, just, the increases. Yeah. Has it been okay? Has it been realistic? How would you advise them to set a more realistic premium?
I think in general terms, because what we always say is that we don't, you look at each stokvel has its own circumstances. Not only each stokvel, but each member have their own challenges, issues of employment. Some members might be employed for now and then they lose their employment and so on. So generally speaking, there are principles that don't vary, that we encourage stokvels to always apply. And that's the principle of honesty and being realistic. I think more often than not, in our engagements with stokvels, what we found is that stokvels that are very honest and transparent in terms of what they can realistically afford are the ones that have gone on to achieve greater things. We do know that as people, we've got our own problems where if someone says, let's increase the premium to 500 Rand, ego kicks in, and even though it's going to be a bit of a stretch, but because, everyone has their own faults, you think, if I say I can't afford $500 or $1,000, people will look down on me, so I'm going to agree, even though I know that, personally it might be a problem for me and my household. So therein comes the issue of honesty and knowing how far you can stretch your own rand. So in that scenario, the decision on how much money to contribute should be the longest discussion in the group. We encourage people to make sure, and if necessary, almost force every member to have a view on the amount of money that should be contributed. You'll know that in every group, you'll have people who rarely comment, who go with the flow and so on. But we encourage stokvels to make sure that they've got a view from every single member, because it's one thing to agree to an amount that will only make harm down the line. 6 months down the line, someone's been borrowing from Peter to lend to Paul and that sort of thing. So that defeats the whole purpose of joining a stokvel to grow. So those are for us the two important things when we engage in the issue of increasing premiums. We also say people should look at what are their objectives, what do they want to do, and always grow organically. Even though something does well for you, you don't want to jump in and start doubling your premiums and that sort of thing, because people's incomes don't just generally double over a period of a month unless something extraordinary happens in that month. So we always say, things like your inflation percentages, how the price of food goes up. So your increase in premium should also be guided by those types of increases, your increases in pension, and most importantly, the increase in your salary or the increase in your income. So if you're a SASSA beneficiary, you're not getting an increase, or you work and you're not getting an increase at work, you're getting a 5% increase. And here your stokvel, you're making a proposal to increase the stokvel by 50%, you're going to have problems. So those are the things that we guide stokvels to consider as they consider by how much to increase their contributions.
And just looking at their growth, it really has been an organic one since 2008, and they've managed to set up an investment with a credible financial institution. So what legal or financial checkpoints would you advise that they look at in order for them to understand all of the risks and benefits?
Yeah. The first thing that, especially when you talk about investing, we always engage with groups around the difference between investing and saving. So, and to understand what the difference is. So, for instance, if you're going to collect money, and we're speaking in general terms, but you've got a group that says we're going to be saving money, and then at the end of the day, we're withdrawing that money to spend on different things that need to be done, paying school fees and so on. That's great. But that's not necessarily talking about investment. Investment infers longer term. than the 12 months. So we always say to groups, when you think about investing, always think beyond 12 months. You know, start thinking about minimum 3 years and beyond. That's probably when you're going to start seeing returns on that investment. But if you're going to put in money over a 12-month period and then withdraw it, that's more of a savings type of culture. So some of the things that we encourage groups to look at, you know, and this is just, you know, some rule of thumb, is when you engaging someone who requires you to part with your money as a financial service provider, you have to look at whether that institution is credible, as you correctly said, and how do you check that they're credible? Are they registered with the relevant authority, being the Financial Sector Conduct Authority, in this case, the FSCA? So you know, the first thing that you've got to do, you've got to ask if they are registered. So as a group and someone's making a pitch and a presentation, are you registered with the regulatory authority? Yes. What is your FSP number? They give you that 5-digit FSP number. We then help in instances where they call us, they say, right, we're engaging with these guys, they give us an FSP number, we then able to check if that FSP exists. I think there have been incidents where people have said they give people an FSP number, only to find that FSP belongs to someone else. Because, you know, with ads, it's a requirement that at the bottom of an ad, you've seen financial service provider ads, they say FSP number XYZ. People then take that FSP number and say, this is our FSP number. So we're able to then take that FSP number and check it on the FSCA website, and then get back to the groups that are part of our database to say, yeah, no, that is a credible institution in terms of their compliance with the law. They then also have to look at the products that they're looking at. Are they looking at savings instruments, or are they looking at investment instruments? What is their risk appetite, you know? Do they want to have their capital investment guaranteed? Do they not mind losing some of the money that they have? So those are the types of discussions that they should have around what their risk appetite is. And that invariably will lead them to a product that they all can agree on towards investing in.
Well, we will definitely look at the risk appetite for sure. So please do stay with us. We'll be back after this short break.